Hey everybody, thank you for joining us on Moms on the Move. I'm Jen.
And I'm Ashley.
And we have two special guests today. We have Ashley Bickerstaff with Unified Self-Defense, and we have Melanie.
Deputy Madeline Hester.
Madeline Hester with
Greenville County Sheriff's Office.
Sheriff's Office.
Yep.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks
for
having
having
us. And sorry I keep butchering your name.
It's okay.
We even practiced this.
We did. We
folks.
practiced. I keep calling her something else. So will you just, both of you real quick, just give us a little background into how you started your self-defense?
Okay. So thanks for having me today. I am actually a survivor of a violent home invasion that happened 12 years ago. My husband was on a business trip, and it was about 2:30 in the morning, and I didn't have the alarm set because he was due to come in the wee hours of the morning and didn't want to disrupt us from sleeping. And I heard something in my bedroom closet. I'm a light sleeper, and I called out to who I thought was my husband, and a man came out of my bedroom closet and put me in a chokehold and threatened to kill me if I did not give him of something of value. What I did not know at the time was he's a meth addict and was on methamphetamine, which, as you know, is like crazy, out of their mind, superhuman strength. I mean, a lot of things going on there. And so instinctively, I sat straight up out of bed, and I saw my wedding bands up on the highboy next to the bed, and I was going to reach for those to give to him. And out of the corner of my eye, I could see in the alcove leading out to our bedroom that I could get to my alarm and hit the panic button. So I lunged to get in that direction, and he sucker punched me in the eye, and I fought my way to the actual alarm pad, beat it several times. He attacked me again. I was able to get away and get to the front door. When I got to the front door, we had, at the time, a marble foyer floor, and he attacked me again as I was trying to get out. And during that time, the audible alarm was going off, and it was really, really loud. And so help was on the way.
Were your kids home?
My kids were home. It was 2:30 in the morning. My daughter was 2.5 at the time. My son's 7, right outside. Their bedrooms were right outside of mine. And so as he attacked me again, he briefly sexually assaulted me. I had nothing to give at that point. I had fought for everything that I had. And people asked me all the time, did you have any self-defense techniques? Never. I'd always worked out, ran, lifted weights, but no self-defense training at all. Luckily, he realized somebody was probably coming, and I was not raped during the altercation, but I ran next door to get help. And he left, and they think that there were two at the time, one in one end of the house and one at the other end, and then when I set the alarm off, the other one left. So I got help, came, and my son, who has exceptional needs, was standing on the front stoop with his fingers in his ears because the noise was so loud. So fortunately, they did not see my attacker, which is a blessing. Went to the ER, got checked out, and while I was there, the Chief Wilfong at the time did a reverse 911 call where they called everybody within a 2-mile radius of our home to let them know, hey, there's a suspect at large. If you see anything suspicious, please call the police department. So I'm sitting there in the ER getting checked. They thought my cheeks were broken, my nose was broken, bloodied, bruised. They thought my back was broken. I mean, it was pretty brutal beating. And so while I'm sitting there, we see on WIFF, my house is up on the screen saying, hey, there's a suspect at large if you see anything. So fast forward 2 hours later, my husband is trying to get back from his trip. And we found out that they had apprehended my attacker. He was going between 2 homes on McDaniel Avenue. This was Alta Vista, one of the nicest neighborhoods in Greenville, highly sought after, trying to break in. And it took 4 police officers to apprehend him because he was so strong.
Wow.
So you can attest to some of that.
Oh, yeah.
So fast forward, they caught him. He was a member of a ring of 6. And what they would do is they would target different neighborhoods based on the real estate guides they used to put in the grocery stores. And they had been going in and out of people's homes for 2 years, and nobody had woken up until I did.
Oh, my God.
Which just gives me goosebumps to think about. So fortunately for us, we didn't have an actual trial. He did accept a plea, and we were asking for 22 years in prison for what he had done to me and my family. A lot of times you have people that commit murder that don't even get 13 years in prison. So at that moment, I did not have to go through a trial, which I don't know actually if I could have emotionally withstood it because it was so much. But we got the 22 years in prison for him, and during that time I was able to give a victim's testimony. I stood up told the courts what happened, looked him in the eye. He did turn around and look at me at least once. And at that very moment, I crossed over from being a victim to a survivor. And that was so huge for me. And I found out after the fact that had I not fought him from the detective that worked my case, he would have killed me. He was so out of his mind that he didn't know what he was doing. And so at that moment then, I realized that there were things that I needed to do to for awareness for myself. I wanted to take a self-defense class, didn't really know. I'd looked into some that I had seen, but really had not found anything. So the director of Unified Self-Defense, Terrence Brister, our fearless leader, who is in operations.
I do know Terrence. He works for the city, but we went through the academy together 4 years ago.
Yes,
so,
that's right. That's right. And so he had been offering these classes. He is trained in combat self-defense, has been doing these classes for over 15 years in the community. Saw on Facebook that there was a class offered at First Baptist Church right across the street, and I walked in and took the class. And I said to him when I got there, I said, hey, introduced myself, bebopping in like I am, and said, I'm here because I'm a survivor of violent crime. And he said, will you share your story? And I was like, well, sure, never met the man.
Right.
Shared my story with the group, and as I'm telling these 15 other women, complete strangers to me, they're women crying because they have a story too. So after I completed that 2-hour introductory class, I contacted him. I said, I want to do one-on-one training. I'm ready. I need to have a certain level of preparedness for anything, and you're the one that's going to get me there.
Right.
So we started training together one-on-one. He'd been offering these classes, and I said, you know what? I said, you have so much value and information to give to others. We need to do more of this. And so I came on board as the class coordinator and started reaching out to people that I knew that saw value and needed what we had to offer. Started with the classes and then started kind of helping with those classes through my training. So I always say that Terrence is the guru and I'm just the helper. And so we have been, Unified Self-Defense was formed 2 years, December, it'll be 2 years next month. And we offer classes in the community for men, women, and children, but it's primarily women and children. So the classes that we offer, we have different curriculums. So we have a curriculum for elementary school age that goes from 1st grade to 5th grade.
Got to do that.
And it's such a very different conversation because of the terminology. And what we teach them is more of an obstacle course style class. And so if they need to find safety, we teach them to go and hide under a car. There's certain things. We teach them how to use their backpack, how to use their bicycle if they're riding a bike and they're approached by a stranger.
Yep.
So those are different conversations. And then we also have the middle school, high school, and adult.
Yeah. I know. I think there's you don't want to live in a bubble. There is a numbers out there that were scary. I was looking up, and it was 1 in 5 women have said they were sexually assaulted. 1 in 5, which that actually really blew my mind. And
that's just what you know about.
Yes.
Right.
Well, number one, that's what you know about.
Yeah,
And
reported, I'm sure.
Right.
Reported.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure
It
it's
goes
underreported.
unreported all the
Yes.
time.
Yeah. What has
Um,
been your experience on it?
So I just recently, I was on the road with the sheriff's office for about 3.5 years. This August I just got promoted and I moved to our Crimes Against Children unit, and it's an overflow of our sex crimes as well. So I do anything from child abuse, child sex crimes, to even I go over into adult sex crimes as well. And it's like you said, many go unreported. It's shame, not thinking anyone will believe them, to, they just mentally can't deal with it as well.
do you think it is smart for parents to sit down and talk to kids about it in advance? And what would you
Absolutely.
recommend we say? Because I struggle with I don't want to scare my kids.
Yeah.
I do have Bennett constantly thinking like, what's the bad guy look like? And I'm like, he looks like everyone, buddy.
and
But
it's
then I
usually
don't know.
people
That is
Yes.
true. So,
Right.
this is where it can get tricky. So you do have your instances where, in your case, it was a total stranger.
Yeah.
And that does happen. But most of the time, especially with sexual assault, burglary, it's might be someone you know. I would say it's probably half and half. But sexual assault, especially, it's someone you know. Very rarely, most of my cases that I work, it's a family friend or a family member. It's not
scary.
It's not just a stranger. But I would say it's very important that you have that talk with your kids and just use the best terminology. Don't, I know we don't want to scare them, but
Right.
it can be it can be hard for us when we bring a kid in and talk to them, just because that balance between sheltering and just being honest with them can make our job harder.
Gotcha.
Right.
And it's a
That's a good point.
difficult conversation as a parent to have, for sure. But I think it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think one of the things that we talk about too is, in my case is the perfect example, it can happen to anyone, anytime, any place. We are not
So
immune
true.
to it, and we are going to experience violence to some degree. You know, I don't know what the number is. It's like 2 out of 5 might experience, you know, real true violence, and just the awareness and preparedness
That is an
of it.
alarming number.
It is.
In Greenville, we're apparently the 35th safest city in South Carolina, which that doesn't sound great.
How many cities we have? Yeah.
Right. So I think, you know, you don't want to scare people, but there needs to be an awareness. Again, even if you're in your own home with your kids, you think you're safe. You don't want to live in fear, but you need to be aware.
You don't want to live in fear, but
No.
you want to live prepared.
Yes. So what do you
Yeah.
think like the best tips are? And they're probably relatively obvious, but once you get in your day-to-day and you're multitasking and you're momming and you're working, you know, we're probably overriding some of the
Right. I think for us, you know, with the holidays coming up, one, you know, you have people that are praying because you've got gifts, you've got people in and out. Now, COVID, not as much with that, but just if you have a security system, please use it.
Yeah.
There's a reason that you have it. That's the first thing, because that literally saved my life, having that.
Yes.
Secondly, when you are out and about, if you are out in the malls shopping and you are even at Target, you know, getting your weekly supplies for your family, please be aware of your surroundings. They are out there preying on you, being distracted with your children, having your arms loaded up with bags, having your phone in front of you, checking your texts. They are waiting for you to not be aware.
I would honestly say, probably, in my opinion, the phones now, it's your number one distraction.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Us, even in
Yep.
law enforcement, I struggle with it daily because that's something we harp on. From
Yep.
the second you come into field training, is you are aware of your situational surroundings. You need to be aware who's standing around you on a scene, who's walking by you, who's around you in a car.
Yep.
And it is so easy to get distracted with that phone in your hand.
And they're
to look
preying
down.
on that,
Oh
aren't
yeah,
they?
no,
Yeah.
they're
Now,
looking.
that does bring me to a question. I don't know if you really are allowed to answer this, but about a year ago, there was a lot of talk going around between moms that people were being stalked at Targets, Walmarts, the big stores, waiting for you in a parking lot and your kids. And it was more so the child trafficking. That's the term that was going around. Is that something you're actually seeing, or did that get a little out of hand?
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it's not happening, because it very well could be. And we have an investigator at the sheriff's office who is specifically dedicated to human trafficking, whether it's adults or children. It happens. I don't know, probably a lot of people have heard Greenville is in the center of Charlotte and Atlanta.
Yep.
That 85 corridor is huge for drugs. It's huge for trafficking. It's just nature of the beast. What I would say is it needs to be on your radar, but don't let it scare you, because it's
Okay.
not as
I feel like they go for more
prevalent.
vulnerable, from what I've read,
Yes.
vulnerable populations.
It still just plays into situational awareness in the first place, and having that talk with your kids about strangers. You know, I have a little sister who would talk to a stop sign. You know,
Right.
That's all it takes, and
yeah.
she's super friendly and super trusting, and you don't want to beat that out of your kid, but you also still want them to be safe. And it's
trusting your
it's a hard
gut
balance.
instinct. I mean, that's
Yes.
There's a
that's-
reason we have a gut
that's
instinct,
exactly right.
and you need
Yeah.
to listen to it.
Any police officer will tell you a lot of our job is based off of instinct.
Yeah.
You get that feeling.
You do have, yeah.
You get that feeling, you're like, something's not right.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to trust it. It may be nothing, and don't shame yourself if it is nothing, but there is always that chance that it's something. If you have alarm bells going off and you're getting that pimple, goosebumps, and something in your mind's just going, I don't like this,
lean
listen
into
to it.
Yep. I
Don't
believe
feel
that.
foolish for listening to it, especially, like I said, if in the end it was nothing.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry.
And I believe in like layers. Like I love the personal self-defense. You know, we have alarms, and alarm systems now is so affordable. We've got the Ring
Cameras,
all
yeah.
over the place, out front door. I mean, like you can see, and I love being able to check in every time a door's open, a window open, and it's very inexpensive now. You can do it on your own. But I'm also, I don't know if we should say they're not, but I do carry. I have my my CWP, and I do carry. That was one of my things getting into real estate that I think made me feel comfortable and definitely made my husband feel comfortable. But it took same training. It's not just going and getting the class. It's really knowing how to use it.
Yeah, and I'll say that too. You know, I told you before I came on the show, I had my CWP when I turned 21. I got it, so I was still in college when I got it, and then obviously I went to the sheriff's office and got further training. And we have to qualify, I think, quarterly. Okay. So I shoot several times a year at our range. Like I am graded on it. And then in between that, I practice as much as I can because it is a perishable skill. Yeah. It's not just I get it. And because we're taught that when you pull that trigger, that bullet counts and you're responsible for where it goes. So you need to know whenever you were, you know, hopefully you never are in that situation. But if you're ever in that situation where you might have to shoot somebody, you want to know that, you know, you're going to hit what you're aiming at. Right. And it's a perishable skill, and kind of like, and it's the same with your training. One self-defense class isn't going to do it. Right. It's, you have to keep with it. There's a really good book, and if anyone wants to read it, it's called On Combat, and it's by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. And it's more towards law enforcement and military, but I think it's good for others to read because he breaks down what happens to your body when you are put under a high level of stress and you were put in a life or death situation like you were put in.
So does it talk about like that fight or flight
Yes.
instinct?
Yeah. So you have it, and it talks about situational awareness. It talks about you can go condition black, where basically that's when you freeze. That's when your brain literally, it's called an OODA loop. And I can't remember what it stands for. It's like observe, orient. It's basically when your brain processes something, and then when you decide what action you're going to take and what your reaction is going to be. And when you go condition black, you get stuck in that OODA loop, and your brain literally, you cannot act.
Well, I think until you're in the situation, you have no idea how you're going to react.
And that's true. And that's, so in the sheriff's office, that's one thing, that's why we train constantly as much as we can. With shooting and with self-defense. So every year we do a recert in our self-defense tactics. We do more of a Krav Maga.
That's what we do.
Do you Krav? Okay, so I highly recommend, if you're going to do it, Krav Maga or even like a jiu-jitsu. Because they're very like, I don't know if scrappy is the right way to put it, but it's very...
Can you explain that? The Krav Maga.
It's just a form of...
It's like any type of like a taekwondo. It's a specific
you have like
form.
karate.
Like is it hands-on?
Taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, Krav Maga.
Okay.
It's just a principality.
Okay.
And the different moves. And what we tell people too is no matter what situation you're in, who you are with or you are fighting, you fight the same.
Yes.
I don't care if it's male, female, old, young, purple, yellow, 6 feet 10, 5 feet 2. You fight the same. If you're in a situation where you decide you have to fight, you fight for your life. Yes. And you don't just take one strike and then step back and assess. That's the worst thing you can do. When you make that first strike, you go in and you keep going, overlapping. And you keep going, and your goal is to get to safety. That is your goal every time.
So it's about training until when you get in that moment,
Yeah.
it becomes instinctual
training
and muscle memory.
You'd agree with me, once you go through it, it's about mentally being prepared.
It is.
You have
It's the whole body.
You don't want to get to that point where you're just paranoid everywhere you go, but it's that situational awareness. It's be kind to everybody you meet, but also be prepared to kill everybody you meet. That's really like crass.
If you can breathe, you can fight.
Yes,
is what we say.
So what we practice, that's why, not only because it helps on camera, but if we're fighting on our job, we harp on verbal commands, because if you're speaking, that means you're breathing. If you're not breathing, you're going to be gassed in 1 to 2 minutes. Even if you're in peak condition, you're gonna go. The adrenaline, that stress,
physiological
yes,
component.
and that's why I recommend that book, because it breaks that down. And when you're placed under that much stress, you revert to your highest level of training or lowest level of training. So if you've gone to one self-defense class ever, then it's going to be tough.
Growing up, my parents made us do a self-defense class when I was in high school. And I think, you're in high school, you think, oh, nothing's ever going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Like
Invincible.
I've played sports my whole life. I can totally run, whatever you think, it's not reality. But the guy who did the class, he showed us, he got on top, he told us to lay down, got on top of us, and it was like a shocking feeling how helpless I actually was.
Yeah.
And I will never forget it. I think I told you that when I met you.
Yeah.
Because it made me realize, whoa. And he was telling you, you have about 5 seconds and you need to know what to do in those 5 seconds before.
Which I'm sure y'all do ground defense, right?
It's a specific
Okay.
type training. It's not in our introductory class.
Okay, yeah. No. We go, and it's actually pretty interesting. This is like a thing for us females. We have stronger hips.
Yep. We carry lower body that
Yes.
men carry upper body
Yes,
strength.
we have stronger hips, childbearing, all that
yep.
good stuff. So when we do ground defense, if you practice it and you can get proficient at it, it can be to your advantage. But like you said, you have to think quick because...
Yep.
Well, and what we tell people too for our class, going back to practice and repetition, is if you take one introductory self-defense class, studies have proven you are 75% more likely to fight by taking the one class.
Wow.
Now, we tell people you're not going to come out a ninja warrior taking one class. However, the opportunity is there for you to take a class a couple times a year. Just keep taking and keep taking. Everybody has different goals with their self-defense and where they want to be. My goal was just to be protective. I didn't need to be a ninja warrior ever. And I have not done the groundwork training at this point. But basically just the awareness and the knowledge and knowing that you can take care of business if you have to.
Right.
And I've always heard never let them take you to the second location. Because that's when it's done. Like
Yes,
that's what I've always
heard
heard.
that.
Like you fight them if they're trying to like take you. And I mean, I'm a big girl. I don't know who's going to be trying to take me anywhere, but you never let them take you to the second location because that's where they find your body.
And I always say you don't
Yeah.
fight fair.
Yeah,
You
no,
fight to win.
yeah.
If that means gouging eyes out, if that means kicking
And
them
that
where
leads
it
to
hurts,
this.
if it's a guy, I mean, you
fight the same.
you fight the same, and you, like you said, you do not stop.
Show us your little.
So this is one of the self-defense weapons that we promote. It's called a kubaton, and best $10 you'll ever spend. And you can look up on YouTube to see how to use it. But one of the fist strike that we use.
Hammer fist?
Hammer fist. Thank you. Yes, it left me for a second. So with the hammer fist, you have a certain opportunity to use down, side, back, under, and you can use this to gouge the eyes. You can use it in the ear. You can use it in the neck. It has a blunt force where it can open you up here. It can open you up in the arm. You can do if somebody tries to bear hug you from behind, you can knock right here on this nerve. Excruciatingly painful. So this is not TSA approved. Trust me.
If anyone is just listening to
Yeah.
the podcast,
Yeah.
it's like a little dagger.
It's just like a little dagger with blunt force.
Yep.
My 15-year-old has it, and she uses it when she walks the dogs. It's just a little
Smart.
layer of protection that you can have, and I have them on all my key rings. But it's called a kubaton, Kubaton, and it is a great self-defense weapon to have
Yes.
that you feel comfortable with.
Good stocking stuffer, moms.
Perfect.
For real,
Great little
for
college
real.
gifts.
I'd recommend too
Yeah.
going to
High school
Academy.
gifts.
I kept it on myself in college. Just getting like the stuff you can get at Academy for pepper spray.
Yes.
It's good
Yeah.
too.
Is there
The
a
high
certain
10-foot
kind of
one.
pepper spray? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're all about the same. It's not
Okay.
not as strong as what we carry,
No.
but it's still going to do the job. It's not
Yeah.
it's not going to feel good. And a lot of them now have like that dye in it too that
Yeah.
like makes it even more. Someone's gotten sprayed
Then
in
you
the
know.
face or with it. Yeah. And depending on how strong it is, I know with us, it doesn't even have to be on you. That's why we have to get sprayed, because if you spray it on someone else, it's still going to affect you. You're going to cough, your eyes are going to sting, your face is going to hurt. So
Right.
that's
It's going to
what I want
work. I have one that I carry that's Velcro in my hand when I run.
Oh.
And so it's right here, and it just fits like a little strap, and I can just right there if I need it. So that's another.
So there was something I did want to bring up. Is there anything for parents that they can give their younger children who, don't have cell phones, who don't have key rings, but, like for example, my kids are 6'4" and almost 1. What can I give my 6-year-old? There's these watch trackers now. Have you heard of those?
I haven't, but
I just don't know if
it
that's a
wouldn't
good
surprise
idea.
me. That's where it gets kind of tricky.
Tricky,
is
yeah.
with the younger ones. I mean,
I know.
they're not they're not young or old enough or strong enough to really
and they're not mentally mature enough to really know what that looks like. And I'm going to speak on just the self-defense of what we promote is just having those conversations and using the appropriate language and say, hey, you know, mom and dad love you so much, and we just want to make sure that you're prepared and safe everywhere you go.
Yep.
And then just launch into a little bit of that.
It's
I think
the
at that
whole
young
stranger
age,
danger,
it is.
you know?
Yes.
And is it still a thing? I remember when I was young, they always recommended like having a password, you know.
We promote a code word.
Yeah, if the stranger comes up and is like, hey, your mommy said to come with me, and be like, well, what's the password? Because you explain to them,
Okay.
And
you can, if someone says
to
to go with them and it's okay with me, I will give them this password, and let's for SpongeBob.
Because it's
Very
usually
smart.
somebody,
Yes.
especially with kids, it's usually someone they know. It's a parent, it's a friend of a friend, it's a coach. It's I mean, you just never know.
Yeah.
We also
actually
promote having
really
like
like
an
that idea.
exit plan in your home.
Yeah.
So if you ever have a situation, and even if it's inclement weather type thing.
I'll say my dad's a fireman. So my dad we always had the meetup spot. He always told me,
Yes.
if the house catches on fire, you don't worry about me. You get out and you meet at the neighbor's house or the neighbor's mailbox right here.
Yes, have an exit plan for your family. And if there's a time that, you know, is, like I said, weather, somebody enters the home uninvited, that type of thing, have an exit plan and definitely have a code word. It can even be red envelope. Mommy, I need the red envelope.
Right. Okay.
There you go.
Now, I remember like hearing this a while ago. Screaming for help sometimes doesn't get the attention you would want, and they say scream like fire instead.
That's the top word is fire, because
Fire.
people will respond to that because they think children are involved.
Okay.
So it's fire, no, help, stop. Those are the four that we use, and fire is the one that is most highly responded to.
So okay. Now, is there anything like that you feel most people have taken away, like one move or one thing from the class that?
I have been told, so during our class we teach the strikes, the blocks, and the kicks. And I think the strike, the hammer fist, is probably the most...
I was going to go, especially as a female,
Okay.
so our wrists. We do not have strong wrists. I hate an in-service because they make us do, it's a straight punch, that's a regular punch, and then you have a hammer fist. Hate when we have to do straight punches, especially on the bag, because it hurts.
It hurts.
And I don't have strong wrists. In my job field, whenever I've had to go hands-on with someone and I've had to fight somebody, I automatically usually hammer fist is what I'm going to first,
great,
because it's you have more strength right here. You have that meat and that bone right there. I don't know. Do y'all go over elbows?
We do. We do elbows. We do palm heel strikes.
Yeah, elbows are hard, and you're going to hurt somebody with it. You can go up. You can go out. That's a good one.
And the thing with the hammer fist too is if you're approaching from the top, you use your body weight. So since we are strong from the hips down, you get extra impact from using that on a downward.
And it's easier too, because even if someone kind of has you kind of wrapped up, you can still try and get enough like momentum close in and lay down strikes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do small classes. You offer.
We do. So with COVID, we have a little damper on some of our momentum right now. But right now we're doing small private classes, either outdoors or private homes or private office space.
Okay.
And so I coordinate all those classes and schedule them. And we started back up in July with small classes. We did a class yesterday, scenario-based at Wilson Associates Real Estate Company for the realtors, and lockbox opening, cars, what happens if somebody tries to attack you while you are driving, showing a home. So we have a lot of situational type series classes that we offer that are customized as well. So we have our basic introductory 2-hour class that we offer all the time, and then we have specialty classes.
Okay, great. So the website, if you want to plug that real quick.
So it's Ashley Unified Self-Defense, and we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we're everywhere.
Great.
Yeah.
And what about a CWP? If somebody wanted to go get their concealed weapons permit, or they've never held a handgun before, where do they even start?
Yeah. So internet's great for CWP. So just go in there, type CWP South Carolina. It'll take you to SLED's website, because they're the ones who deal with CWPs, issue it. Here in Greenville, City Arsenal has CWP classes. That's where I got mine.
And you can register online for those.
I know Palmetto State Armory. I think maybe sharpshooters over off Rutherford
Yes,
Road.
they did
They
too.
do also. Yep.
Those are the 3 I know of off of hand.
And there's one in Simpsonville. It's
off
right
Main
next.
Street.
Yeah,
I
it's on
can't
Main
remember
Street,
what
right
the
next
name-
to the library.
I don't know if
and
they do classes or not. They might.
They were really good. That was one of the first
really
places
good.
I ever went to, and they showed me how to, stance the
that,
whole
and
bit.
that's the big thing is
Yeah.
fundamentals.
Yes,
and
exactly
if you've
it.
never shot a gun before, you're actually at an advantage because you're not going to bring bad habits to
That's
the
true.
table.
Yeah.
And for me, it's super empowering for me. Many times women are actually better shots than men
They're more meticulous.
well, and we don't have the ego. The guys come
Yeah.
into it and they're like, oh, you
Yeah.
know, and we're just like, teach me. And
Yeah.
we'll stop and we'll listen to you. And it's not
Right.
getting your panties in a wad because this other guy is trying to tell me what to do. He's not going to tell me what to do. You know, we come in, we listen, and a lot of times we're actually very good shots and sometimes a lot better shots than men. And I know coming into this, I kind of told you and already touched on it, I don't want us as women to live in fear.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is a very serious topic. It's scary. It happens. But I want us to be empowered to the point where we can take these steps to where we know we can defend ourselves or we can, do a hell of a good job trying at least,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, knowledge is power.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I share my story openly and willingly, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
It's so true.
And Palmetto Armory on Woodruff
Palmetto
Road.
State Armory, yeah,
Palmetto State
Woodruff.
Armory on Wednesdays, I believe, is Ladies' Day, and you
Yeah.
can go to the range for free. They won't charge a range fee.
Oh, wow.
And when I was first getting started, they've got different handguns that you can rent to see what feels comfortable, because depending on your hand size,
Yes.
it's
Caliber too. Caliber's
Exactly.
a huge thing.
Yeah.
No offense to these guys that work at these gun shops, but they're gonna go in there and be like, "Oh, hey there, little lady, and
That's
this
right.
is what you want." No, you go, you shoot that gun.
You do
They're
research.
gonna try and give you a little 22, maybe a 3,
I carry a 9.
a 380.
That's what I
Yeah,
have.
a 9
I wanna be able to
millimeter.
stop somebody.
I
Yep.
highly recommend a 9 millimeter.
Yep.
And just shoot it and don't let them
Yeah.
get you into something that you don't
Yeah,
want.
again, not to give everyone some fear right now, but the statistics in Greenville, it was 5 out of 1,000 have a serious crime committed against them. Serious. But then again, the 1 in 5 sexual assaults on women. So this isn't meant to scare everybody. It's meant to
Awareness.
give
Yep.
knowledge and awareness
Yep.
and just give that gift to your children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to thank you both for coming
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Thanks for having us.
And everybody needs to sign up for Ashley's classes.
Yes.
Yep.
I have yet to be able to come because I was pregnant or there was a legit reason. I
Ashley
promise.
too.
Okay.
Da, da, da,
I
da.
We're doing it.
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm
We'll
gonna
have
get
to
my
get you there.
9. What is it? A 9 millimeter.
Yeah.
9 millimeter.
I'll take
I
you
need
to the
I
range.
need
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah, I'll
Chris
take you.
keeps wanting to.
Yeah.
I'll go with you.
See,
I would
let's
love
also
to.
make a
I would
date.
love
A
to.
lot
Text
more
me.
women shoot
Yeah.
than you
Yeah.
realize.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
text me. And, we
And
can
thank
go.
you, Investigator Hester, for
Yes,
being
thank
Appreciate
here.
it. Yeah, and
Thank you for all your service
And I didn't
everything.
plug this earlier,
Yeah.
but if you feel like you're in a situation where you're not safe, 911, call us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Ta-da.
If it's nothing, it's nothing. If it is something, then we'll come out there and we'll help you the
Yeah.
best we can.
Thank you for your service. to
Yes,
everything
thank you
you do.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
try.
Thank you, Ashley.
We appreciate your appreciation. It really means a lot.
Well, especially now.
It takes
sure.
a village,
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
especially nowadays.
Yes. Well, again, thank you, ladies, for being here, and thanks everyone for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good one.
Thank you.